This is my August trading recap, and this was my biggest month year to date for 2023 trading small caps. Now, I'm actually planning to start another recap with my futures algos, as I've had a lot of messages asking, how they've been going. Because when I was doing testing of my algos, I pretty much posted every single day the performance, and I totally understand some people want like recaps and checkups. Main reason I haven't done it at the moment is just doing 2 recap videos is kind of long. And I'm only really doing 1 video a week. That's kind of the easiest amount I can handle at the moment with everything else going on. And I want at least 3 of those videos to be like informational, things I've learned, things I think other traders could be finding useful. So we'll see. I'll try and do 2 recaps like pretty much in like 2 days or something for the end of each month, so it doesn't saturate the other useful content. But this will be something I'll probably do. They will be shorter videos, but if you have been looking forward to like an algo recap kind of series, that will probably be coming maybe in the next month or 2. Now, as I said, this was the biggest month for me in 2023. This was about $6,268. Now, after low gates, I think that brings it down to about 5,700 or 5,600. Still my biggest month for 2023 at the moment. Now, overall, looking at this calendar, the first kind of 2 weeks, the first week, to be honest, was pretty brutal. First day, straight away a loss, and then just no trades really came. Second week was huge for me. It was my biggest day. I had $2,000 in a single day. And to be honest, the weird thing about that day was for a while, I was like, damn, I did something different, but I really didn't. Nothing changed. It was just a big win. It has been, I have had this feeling as I've been getting to bigger size slowly, is that I feel like I must be doing something different, but I'm really not. And every time I think about it logically, I don't think there will be any difference really in my trading until I hit the sizes, of, having $10,000 days probably is where I see maybe liquidity constraints and, having to change, maybe adding pyramiding or something like that. As I've worked with bigger traders and I kind of understand that experience as well. But at least in my own personal trading, at the moment, I can pretty much exit on any single candle and enter on any single candle. So most of the time, it's not really a big issue with me, and I'm not trading anything that can be illiquid, like parabolics. So normally these kind of gap up plays are pretty liquid, and most of the time I don't have really any issues. So that has been a really strange feeling that I've been making more money, and I don't have any reason really why. It's just been putting on more size and kind of doing the same process. That's actually found it kind of difficult for me to post valuable content about this experience because fundamentally, nothing has really changed. I'm just trading the same system, upping my size. I have maybe some new emotions come into play, but pretty much everything that's based on edge has been founded, from even last year. And a lot of that kind of back testing and data has been pretty much the same. I haven't really changed my strategy in more than like a couple % on some parameters, pretty much. And the only thing that's maybe changed is my 80% systematic and 20% discretion. I think my 20% of discretion has gotten a lot better as I've really focused on trying to understand the things that I use discretionary and then try and quantify them to the best of my ability. That gives me that kind of more foundation and clarity in those decision makings, which has been extremely useful. Like I did a thread on tape, like order flow. And that seems to resonate with a lot of people, as those were some methods that I've been kind of exploring about how to quantify tape. And those have really helped me, especially when I've like kind of backtested that kind of data. That's helped me even more. But I've been mainly focusing on doing that. So taking those things that I've noticed during 20% of discretion that have been helping me have like a high EV on trades, and then trying to quantify them as much as I possibly can. And I think that's also what has really helped like on biased trading when I'm working with other people, is I normally always have ideas of how I quantify things because I've just been doing similar things maybe and spending tons of time just thinking, how the hell do you quantify this in code or at least in a systematic way? So yeah, apart from that, nothing too much has really changed over these months. But overall, great month. It was odd that it went slow, fast, then slow, and then really, picked up the tickers. I don't think I've traded that much for at least like 2 months or so. So that felt really good to kind of be at the desk every day and actually taking trades. It's always a bit disappointing when you turn on your desk and you look at your scanner, nothing hits it, and you just kind of have to wait until 9:30 and then still nothing there, and you just have to leave. Or at least that's what I try and do. Next, this is the equity curve. This is all on TraderSync, by the way, if anyone's got any questions about that. It's my preferred journaling system, and that's also where I post all my trades on Twitter. Reason being, just keeps it clean, keeps it consistent. I do use TradeZero as my broker, but I wouldn't really... TradeZero is hard to recommend. They are pretty much the only option for a lot of people, so you kind of have to use them. But they're definitely not the best. And I'm planning to move to Cobra or Centerpoint soon. So that will be coming, and maybe then I'll post, DAS trades screenshots instead of TradeSync. But it has always been just a very nice method where I can upload my trade to TradeSync and I can take a screenshot and I post it on Twitter. And it's just made it very convenient for me at the end of the day. Now, this is the TraderSync stats. So I've actually included some new ones here, not too many, but overall, we can see the return on winners was about 8,000, and I had 1,850 in losses. My biggest profit was that $2,000 day, which felt just absolutely amazing, to be honest. My biggest loss was $469, probably plussing locates on that. I think it was about $500 loss or 520. So nothing huge, definitely within parameter. I wouldn't say fortunate because that's not really the right word, because I worked very hard to keep my risk very disciplined, but I haven't had many triggering moments that have caused me to have those emotional moments where I really wanted to oversize or anything like that. I think that's come down to me building up a lot of friction and barriers to make sure I don't get to that kind of feeling. But I do expect it at some point soon. I think I'm going to be most weak to those kind of feelings when the market really picks up, maybe in November, December. We'll see. But at least at the moment, that hasn't been too much of a big issue. So I'm hoping we can kind of keep consistent with that, and I don't have a video in the next couple of months where I'm like, this was my biggest loss ever. But at least at the moment, that has not happened for, I think, pretty much like a year and a half. I haven't had any big, huge loss that's over, the R that I've set for that day. Now, the win rate, about 69%. To be honest, is pretty standard. At the beginning of the month, I thought I was going to have about 50% win rate because it was quite slow. But it picked up really at the end, and I had a huge win streak of 5 wins in a row. And that really bumped up my win rate to about 70%, which, crazy to say, has actually been kind of average for the past couple of months. When I first started this kind of strategy, early 2023, well, it would be mid-2022, I guess. I think I was predicting about a 65%, maybe 60% win rate. But at the moment, market conditions for my kind of strategies have been pretty good. And that's been giving me like 5% extra boost. Now, I've had 9 total winners and 4 total losses, with 5 consecutive wins and 2 consecutive losses. And I've also had 1 average trade a day. Now, I wanted to put that there because sometimes I get questions on, why I only take 1 trade a day, why not take multiple? And I had a really amazing discussion with Day Trading Zoo on this topic when I met him in Amsterdam. Now, for him, I totally understand the reason why he takes so many more trades in a day, because the reasoning is pretty much is that if you have positive EV, the more trades you take, the more likely you'll end green on the day than it is if you only take 1 trade. That even if you have positive EV, it is actually less likely you'll end up green on the day because you only have a sample size of 1 for that particular day. Now, that is completely correct, and I do agree with that opinion. And if you want to go down that route, that's totally fine, to be honest, and it makes logical sense. For me, the counter argument that I said was mainly that once you start introducing multiple trades, there is a bigger emotional side to it, in my opinion. It's very clean for me to wake up and pick the highest odd trade. And now I think I'll try and do a thread on this later on. It's a bit of a bigger topic, but pretty much highest odds just means highest macro edge or particular edge for me based on the tickers that are available to play. And that's how I kind of pick the 1 trade that I'll take for that day. Now, that is pretty much a fully systematic process. I'm just looking at stats based on previous trades and based on previous historical data and some Monte Carlo simulations, plus a couple of just normal backtest simulations that's allowing me to make that decision. But what that allows is to provide very easy discipline. The second I start taking even more and more trades, that discipline and that emotional capital and mental capital gets split between all these different ones. And that can be very difficult. At the moment, I know my weakest thing is if I don't have full focus and full, I hate saying discipline, but just full clarity and discipline, I guess, on one particular ticker, I'm very easy at oversizing or letting in these classic mistakes I've made, like revenge trading and things like that. So I've been very stern with myself, making sure that I only have 1 trade a day, and it's quite hard for me to mess up 1 trade a day. If I know I'm taking 1 trade, that's pretty much it. There isn't too many other factors that come into it. Now, I will actually show you right after this, which kind of flows into it, was the most difficult trade I've had this month. This was on EDBL, and I took this position, and it didn't even hold. I think it was like fucking two minutes later, I was out of the position, and I had a max loss. This was quite difficult. I definitely had feelings that I wanted to revenge trade this because it was just ridiculous. It was like 2 minutes and I was done. Now, did I actually make any mistakes? I don't think so. I've looked over it, and the classic thing that other traders do, and especially when I was starting, I definitely did, was if you take a loss, you think there must be a reason you took this loss, and there must be something you did wrong. Now, on a trader perspective, I definitely think there's a lot of things a trader can do wrong, but most of the time, people interpret it as a strategy issue, and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have lost on this, so I need to change the strategy. So, I could have looked at this trade and it's like, wow, shorting at the open on this particular ticker made no sense. I should have just, on all the future ones, I'm going to have to wait for a 15%, 20% spike, and then I'll short it. If that was the conclusion I came to, I would miss out on so much EV because that's just the wrong lesson you're taking from it. The right lesson, at least in my opinion, is that these are just losses that come with that strategy. There will be times where you just take a loss in 2 minutes and that's it. And then there will be, 70% of the time where you're taking a lot of wins by shorting around the open with these particular tickers. So I think it's very easy in trading to take the wrong lessons from the same thing. And a lot of the time, I think you only learn that from experience, or at least from hearing other people, actually change your point of view on how you view that particular situation. I remember at the beginning, I thought if I lost one day, that the next day I had to do something completely different because I lost the previous day. It sounds logical when you're coming into trading, you're like, oh, if you lost, you should be changing things to make sure that maybe it's market environment, whatever has changed. But when you're looking at it over a large sample size, over a long-term kind of career, it doesn't make sense to be changing every single day. It's just ridiculous. It's very hard to stay profitable with that, at least in a systematic way. I know some people are amazing at it. No hate to them at all. If it works for you, it works for you. It just doesn't work for me in my particular trading. Now, some other big notes. Obviously, as I mentioned, this was the biggest month this year for me. Really, it was just down to opportunities plus sizing up. So last month, I sized up to $450 a trade from $350. I think for next month, I'm going to try to size up to $550. Going to see how that feels, but that's the goal. Even now, it feels a bit daunting, but I think it's something I want to try and do. And I've actually set up some things in life to hopefully make me move onto higher sizes, and I'll get into those in a second. So this was a huge life milestone happened this month. I finally rented a new place. It is way more expensive than my previous one. And it is one that I am quite proud of. It's something I definitely wouldn't have been able to afford a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Most of my trading money has pretty much gone into savings. At the moment, I pretty much rent a very cheap place. And a lot of my money just goes into savings. Some goes into indexes. For a time, I was saving a deposit for a place I'm buying a place at the moment. Still considering that. To be honest, I have the money if I really wanted to, but not everything yet has aligned where I want to do that at the moment. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll do a thread on what my kind of life decisions are at the moment with kind of trading going the way it is. But a big thing with this milestone of getting this way more expensive place, a huge reason was to kind of put me back into a corner. One thing I noticed was I didn't size up for so long. I think the reason for it was because nothing in my life made me need to push higher, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not going to say I don't have motivation or passion to go to higher and higher levels. I think anyone that knows me or talks to me on a daily basis in trading knows that I want to do 1 million. I want to do more than that. But because I'd focused on the long term, and I'm still very focused on the long term, that it didn't feel like there needed to be a rush to it. Now, this was not to put me in a state of rushing to make the money. I don't have the money to cover rent or something like that. I have way enough money to cover the rent for the whole year, and I've already got that kind of put away to make sure I'm safe on that end, and I'm not trying to make that completely destroy my trading. But I wanted something to push me to say, okay, this month let's try and go for $100 more risk. Let's see how it goes. Let's actually push it. Let's see if I can make more money because of this change, and to put me kind of in a position where I felt that I needed to. This one's really hard to say. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and maybe some people will resonate with hearing this. I know this is a bit of a rant, but it's very hard to articulate in a clear way that doesn't sound like I'm only doing this to put myself in a corner and completely destroy my trading. It's more to put it there to motivate me to keep on the process and keep on actually sizing up and chasing after the end kind of goals, or not the end goals, but the next goals. Now, that kind of brings me to the next point. It's just going to be keeping to the process of sizing up more. So hopefully $550 will be our race next month. I'll let you know in a month times if that actually worked. We're going to actually be preparing by recapping fodder takers in the past. I think the market is probably going to heat up quite a lot this winter. Obviously, I don't know. That's just my prediction. But one thing I definitely realized is with that EDBL trade, I was completely, it was like I got right hooked. I just didn't know what to think. I hadn't been stopped out that quickly in quite a long time. And I realized that day was that, if that starts to happen more frequently, even if it is totally fine for my trading, I think that will probably put a weakness in my emotional and mental capital. So I wanted to recap some of the hotter tickets from the past and kind of get used to and get ready for those feelings of that being stopped out quite early, and just understanding that will be a part of the process in hotter markets and maybe some adjustments I'll make possibly. But yeah, that's been a big focus for next month, is to recap all those kind of hotter tickers in the past. Lastly is I'm going to expand upon my real-time stats. So I use basically Discord using Python code and Polygon to pull myself real-time stats. I've done this for a couple other trader clients and they've all really loved it. It's a great way to get real-time stats of your edge in the moment based on different kind of variables. And I'm going to add a couple more variables, a couple new settings just to expand upon those real-time stats, because I realized that has really helped my discretion in understanding the stats behind at the moment of that particular ticker. And I think if I keep on expanding upon that, it should make sense that my discretion gets even more clear and even better decisions are made. So I'm going to work on, for at least a week or two, kind of think of ideas of what I want to add to it and getting that kind of all coded up in Python. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a longer one, but thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed, please like and share with anyone else who might be interested.